I'm independent filmmaker Josh Lindquist, and today I'm going to do a quick breakdown on how to do a successful crowdfunding campaign for your independent project. Now, I'm going to talk about this in regards to a short film I just made called The Resurrection Scroll. You can apply this to features, though I think as you scale up in budget, there is kind of a point of diminishing returns. So, this is good if you're looking to raise a couple $1,000s, not necessarily five-figure budgets or higher for a feature film. That being said, with the Resurrection Scroll, which is a short film I made that was pretty ambitious in terms of scope, we were able to raise just under $1,200. We made most of that within the first 12 hours of launching the campaign. It was much more successful than I anticipated, and it took a lot less work to raise that money than I thought. So let me tell you how I did it. So I chose to use Indiegogo as the platform to run this crowdfunder. There are other platforms like Kickstarter and GoFundMe, but I like Indiegogo because of the format of how much you get to keep. They don't take too much off of your donation. If you don't raise the full amount, you can usually still keep most of the funds you raise. And they have a nice perk system, so people are able to be incentivized to donate more. So I like using Indiegogo, but hopefully these lessons can apply to any other platform. Now, the first thing I did as I was setting up this campaign is I thought about our goal. Now, The Resurrection Scroll is a short film that ended up being just under 21 minutes with credits, so it's a fairly large production. I tried to keep the cast as small as possible, but the crew was pretty large, so we were accommodating approximately 30 people. The biggest cost on that production was food, snacks, keeping people fed while they made this movie. The one other expense we had was that there was one location that we decided that we wanted a permit from the city to film there. So that cost us just $100 being in Colorado Springs. All of the other locations we were able to secure for free. So we set the goal of this Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign at $600, which to be honest was kind of a stretch goal. I did not think we would make that much. I was hoping that if we made at least like $200, that would cover our basics, and like me and my awesome producer would end up spending some of our own money on groceries and stuff and just kind of being as thrifty with crafty as possible just to make sure that we could get the movie done. But spoiler alert, within the first 12 hours of launching this campaign, we exceeded our goal. And by the end of it, when all was said and done, we had made just under double what we set out to make. So the money we raised from this covered the location permit, it covered crafty and food, lunch, everything for the cast and crew, and it covered the festival submission fees for sending to film festivals later, which those can add up. So that was very, very helpful. Now I'm just going to kind of run through really quick how I made this on Indiegogo. So, making sure you have cool behind the scenes photos of your cast and everything, that's super important. I went through, and I'm looking over at my screen here while I go through this. We went through and just had a basic thing of help us make our short film. We're making an indie short film. Kind of gets into what the movie's about. I had a plot summary included just to give people an idea of what they're contributing to. And then I think this was a really helpful piece. I had a section about the team, and I talked about the recent short film we made before that, The Unseen. So, The Unseen was a short film we made earlier this year where it was for a 72-hour film competition where we had 72 hours to write, shoot, and edit a short film. And we did that, and actually at the Kick Ass 72-hour film festival where it premiered, we won Audience Choice for Best Picture. So that generated a lot of buzz already for our film. And because I pretty much brought everyone from that cast and crew into Resurrection Scroll, that gave us a lot of, I guess, clout's the word. People were excited. People wanted to participate. People wanted to be part of the next thing we were going to do. So that really helped a lot. So if possible, I'd say make something for extremely cheap with your friends. Try to make it fun and interesting. Get it into a local film festival, and that will get people excited about being part of your next, more ambitious, bigger project. But regardless of if you can do that or not, now let's get into how I did the perks on the crowdfunding campaign, which this was very successful in raising funds for the Resurrection Scroll. So basically with perks, you want to have different tiers where you want to have really cheap ones because if you get a lot of people giving you a little bit of money, that can add up quick. And then you want to have cooler and cooler stuff for people who donate more and more money. So the way that we did it was like for the bottom minimal donation, we landed on $5. And that was where people would get a shout out from the team on social media. I set up a Facebook account for my production company. That way, if anyone claimed that they could get a shout out from us, and we'd be like, hey, thank you. You're keeping indie film alive. This is awesome. We had our next tier up was a $10 donation that got you exclusive behind the scenes content. We did have a behind the scenes photographer who volunteered their time to come work on the movie, as well as other cast members and crew members taking behind the scenes photos as we went. So I knew that we would have a large pool of behind the scenes content, and we could take some of that and put it in a folder and make it exclusive for people who donated. Next up, this is our most popular perk, $15 donation gets you special thanks in the credits of the film. And I really focused on this, that special thanks credit would get you onto IMDb. It's very easy to get a short film on IMDb. I could do another separate video on how to do that, but you'll list everyone who's in the credits of your movie on IMDb. So if someone gets a special thanks credit, they're going to get an IMDb entry on their account. And that can create a new page if they already don't have one. People get very excited about IMDb credits. People want to have an IMDb credit on a cool project. People will pay money for an IMDb credit. Do not be afraid to sell some of those in order to help get money for your film. The next three tiers we had a personalized thank you video, like with the behind the scenes cast and crew thanking people. That one wasn't super popular. That was $35. We had an autographed poster. You can see an example behind me. I kept one for myself, of course. We set that at $50. And so that one was a bit of a lesson to learn because we had to do a photo shoot, make posters, print them, and go into production with those ready so that we could have all the cast and crew sign it as we filmed. Because after the fact, I didn't want to be tracking down everyone. You know, we had a few actors who commuted from outside of town. I didn't want to have to go through and get autographs from everyone. And then also, some people locally bought those. That was great. The printing was cheap. Getting them the poster was fine. But we had a few people from out of state buy those. Shipping a poster to them pretty much negated any money we made from that perk. So I would recommend being cautious with autographed posters or set the price point much higher than we did. Lastly, and this is really the only other IMDb credit you should be selling besides special thanks credits, we sold executive producer credits. We priced these pretty high, $200. I think we could have even gone higher. We had a surprising amount of people take us up on this to get an executive producer credit because they really wanted to contribute to indie film and they wanted that on their IMDb. Now, I would caution against having kind of slightly lower price tiers of like associate producer, and then definitely do not auction off producer credits because your producers and your associate producers are going to be the ones actually going on set, doing work, coordinating in pre-production, production, doing a ton of legwork, and you do not want them to be sharing that credit with people who simply paid for it. Executive producer credit kind of exists for that, and then the producer and associate producer should be people who are like really contributing to the production with their time. So those were our 6 perks. Those were our 6 perks that we did. Shout out from the team for $5, behind the scenes content for 10, special thanks IMDb credit for 15, personalized thank you video for 35, autographed poster for 50. That one should have been higher. And then executive producer credit for 200. With those 6 perks, we raised just under $1,200 in like a day. And we let the campaign run for a while, but that covered all of our expenses and gave us a cushion. So that's how we had our successful crowdfunding campaign. I shared that just on my own social media. I didn't pay for any promoted ads or anything like that. It was just word of mouth. But there were people who weren't like friends or family of cast or crew. None of my family donated. There were people who we had no affiliation with, just who randomly found it online and donated. So it was a very successful campaign. I think scaling it up to have a little bit of a higher goal is doable. I think once you get into the 5-figure budgets that a lot of features require to do professionally, this probably wouldn't cut it. But if you want to make a short film that's high quality and shows your style as a director, your scripts, like your writing style, just shows what you can make and use that to really gain more professional validity as you pitch yourself for other projects, this is a really good, easy way to do it. I loved making the resurrection scroll. It turned out so much better than I could have anticipated. Again, go watch the trailer, see how awesome it looks. And I'm so glad I did this as I pivot into making features now. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer those. And let's just all keep making movies. If you work in the local film scene wherever you live, you meet fellow creative people, you know who you want to collaborate with, then doing a crowdfunding campaign like this to get some money just to cover the basics, you can be set to make something that is really high quality, really cool, and really showcases everyone's talent and can really just advance everyone's career. So go out and make a movie. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more filmmaking content. We're also going to be doing more Nerds and Friends podcast, really pivoting the focus on that to be about filmmaking and how to make it in the crazy indie film world. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.